Well, we've got a crew. This is awesome. Folks, welcome back to another Discord office hours. I'm super excited to have our special guest today, Marta Verde. Marta is over in Valencia. Thanks for joining us this evening. Your evening, Marta. Welcome to Discord office hours. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. I'm a little bit nervous, but
No, you're amongst friends here. You're amongst friends. Marta is a multi hyphenate. She is a visual artist, creative technologist, maker, educator. She's been a teacher and an educator for quite some time, both small workshops to the public as well as teaching graduate students, mentoring hackathons for the last decade plus. Her personal practice materializes in developing live visuals with musicians or dancers, multimedia, interactive, and lighting installations. Applying all of these techniques in developing custom software using Max, P5JS, Node, so on and so forth, and including developing devices. So digital fabrication, electronics, in a big part of the maker kind of DIY culture. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sum you up, Marta.
I know.
But Martha's work has, it's spanned across some very notable festivals. I think most people in our line of work are familiar with the excellent festivals that happen over there in Europe. Lev Festival, Primavera, Sona. It's I'm yet to attend any of those festivals, but I'm certainly aware of how infamous they are. Marta, you were doing something at Sona recently, right?
Yes, last year I went to give a talk and I brought today what I was talking about because I ended using Max for the purpose.
Nice. What was the audience like? Were they aware of Max, or they were more just interested in technology in general? I'm curious, like, because they I know Sona draws a pretty diverse crowd.
Yes, really diverse, but I found like Max nerds around.
Yeah.
I even found like another Max trainer. I can't remember the name right now.
Oh
Yes,
wow.
Felipe. Yes,
Okay.
another Ableton trainers around. I found like nerd people are
You
always super
found our
excited.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that is one great thing about Max's age is, like, you can find us in the corners of most spots around the world. It's pretty cool. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So Marta, you have a little presentation you want to show us. Do you want to kick it off? It feels like, and then we can work on questions. Um,
Yes.
Yes, I can do that, Kevin. Let's see here.
Thanks, Kevin. Let's see. Hi.
What?
Let me share my screen in the meantime.
Oh no.
My uh, Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Because I'm on full screen, so if there is anything to say, just let me know.
Just a moment, Martha.
Yes.
I can see that you are not coming through on. Can you say check 1 2?
One, two, three.
Weird. So Martha is very low right now for you guys. Is that right?
Don't really know. Let me try
Weird.
to
Let
check
let
it out here.
let me see here as well.
Hmm. Mine is at the maximum here, like the game. Can get closer.
Just a second. Something switched around from our sound check. Uh Cause okay, Martha, can you check 1 2?
Yes, one, two.
How's that,
Green.
folks? That should
It's
be
loud enough.
That should be better.
It's
Okay.
better?
Thanks for the heads up, folks. I appreciate it. We literally didn't turn anything off after sound check
Yes.
or change a thing, but somehow the interface decided it wanted to switch back. Classic. Okay, Marta, take it away.
Let me drink a sip of water. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's a great honor. Well, as Tom said, my name is Marta. I am a Spanish artist. Currently, I'm living in Spain, but I'm from the northwest of the country, just that little spot in top of Portugal. I'm also a Max certified trainer. I'm part of the FAM since 2 years ago, I believe. And I will define myself as a creative coder, educator, and creative technologist. Disclaimer, I'm not a musician. Usually all the people that is coming to this Max office hours are musicians, and I'm not. I hold a fine arts degree that I studied in the past. Really long time ago, I used to paint, to draw, to do engraving, and many other things. But then I got trapped with technology and I stayed there forever. Then I realized it, yes, because it was kind of a funny story. I can tell you more about that later. But I started doing some kind of light visual with some friends maybe 15 years ago. And I noticed that I had to learn how to program to build my own tools for making real the crazy ideas I had in the moment, because there was no software for doing those things. So that's why when I finished fine arts, I decided to continue studying, but more in the digital environment. So I went to Barcelona to study digital media design, a master's degree in there, and then a postgraduate in digital technologies for the scene, because I was already super involved in dance performance and theater performance and things that more towards the scenic arts. And then because I started doing a lot of installations, working for companies, festivals, many other things, I started with this kind of maker scene. So I ended up doing the Fab Academy program, that is like a distributed program run from the MIT, towards digital fabrication. So all about milling machines, CNC machines, laser cutters, 3D printers, building my own Arduinos, and all that stuff is something I really enjoyed. And even worked for a while in a big fab lab in Madrid in the past, and I also was like a instructor in this program. But right now I'm just teaching full-time here at Berkeley Valencia campus. It's the only campus that Berkeley has in Europe. That is really fun. I had no idea that Berkeley was here, but they called me, so I took the job. But before that, I was teaching several small workshops or just small classes in different master's degree around Spain and also Portugal. And I'm always trying to blend art, technology, and also performance using digital fabrication, do-it-yourself code, light installations, but mostly working with musicians is what drives me the most. So what I enjoy the most among teaching, it's also doing live visuals with musicians or dance companies. It's like my favorite thing in the world.
Nice.
Also, everything just real time always, because I really enjoy it a lot. Because I can create my own thing and use it in several repeated occasions, but depending on how I use it is going to be a total different scenario. So that's like really fun. And I really enjoy doing this kind of collage because I am doing way so many things during the years. So I try to grab and create these kind of small snippets with many images of different, projects I was involved with. But as I said, mostly it's all about live performance with musicians, some kind of advertising jobs that I ended just stopping doing because I just ended teaching full time. So I had to decide whether to work for companies or teaching. So I just prefer to just teach because the reward is like more personal and really enjoyed a lot. Even that I learned a lot by working for companies, big events, lighting design, for architecture, many other things, even for fashion designers. There is a picture over here. They see some kind of a dress.
Yeah.
Because I was working as a wearables assistant for a fashion designer in a big catwalk here in Spain. The
Whoa,
Pasarela Madrid Cibeles
cool.
is like a famous one. So it was really fun to be putting batteries and things and motors and sensors to the models. It was really fun.
Nice.
Yes. And many things, for example, for some kind of brands like Nivea or Google in the time, Beefeater, many other things. I can see like a picture over here. That's kind of fun at the right side in the bottom. I decided with my friend Monica Rikic to build like a swing for a techno festival. That was a really bad idea. We ended up having to call security to take care of the thing because it was crazy. People was, I mean, was partying. It's normal that they will start breaking things.
Right,
But
right. So you had
yes,
to
yes.
keep them away from the technology.
No, just ask them to behave with the technology to not break it
Right,
just the very first day, you know? It's just
right.
crazy. But I used to work, usually the kind of visual work I do, it always ends with glitch. I really love glitches and distortion and feedback. And this kind of noisy destruction of the image is something I enjoy a lot because over the process, I can really find something I was not really expecting is what I really enjoy about working with technology because sometimes you get surprised by your own thing. Like I was not really expecting that, but it's super cool. So I can just
Mm.
continue developing over there. So that's something I really, really enjoy. But I always end with this kind of image style. Some other things, like for example, at the right side of the bottom, that was a Christmas tree I had to do for a big uh, venue for the government here in Spain. It's kind of a disaster, but it worked. But it was really huge tree. You can see like the image. It was all with this tiny Arduino with a tiny speaker, the amplifier, the microcontroller, everything just inside because they were all interconnected. So they were just playing music and doing different lights. It was during COVID times, so people had to just interact with their phones,
Right.
just with a lantern. So it was really fun to see it working. But those times they were like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Kind of fun.
Very cool. Wow,
Many,
you've
many
worked with a
things.
lot of musicians.
Yes. I mean, I started like a few weeks ago, starting to gather all the musicians I worked with because it's a huge list. I mean, usually I work always with the same kind of people, but then I will tell you later. For example, look here.
So
There are some festivals.
you have some regular collaborators,
Yes.
and then you have you know they've called you up and they want you to do help them do a piece.
Yes, usually I work always with Jose Benditti, is my bestie, my
Yep.
partner in crime since 8 years ago, or already kind of, yes, a long time. But there are some venues or some festivals here in Spain, I don't know, somewhere else if it's the same kind of idea or situation, where they call me like, hey Marta, you want to do visuals for this musician just for this only moment, unique moment in this festival or in this venue? And usually I say yes. It's kind of cool because they do some kind of curatorship
Yeah.
so they can know that my style could fit with them. But it's also cool because in that way I can start working with people and other professionals that in the other way I wouldn't ever be able to do that. You know, like for example, here in this image you're seeing here, this is a collaboration I did with the Finnish musician Alexi Perola for a festival in Barcelona in the Caixa Forum, that is like a big venue over there. And this specific image, I have a small video. I was using Max behind the scenes for this, I guess, small video.
Is this?
I'm sharing audio, right?
Yeah, it's good.
No. So mainly here was just creating a basic spectrogram in Max. Typical, we all love spectrograms and that kind of visualizers for music. But I have the bad habit, I will tell you more about that later, of mixing way too many softwares at the same time. So I was finally rendering everything in VDMX, that is the PJ software I use most of the time for my visuals. But mainly I was using Max for all the control for the audio management and some graphics creation and then just changing scenes because I really enjoyed to do that kind
Yeah.
of little setups.
Nice. Uh,
And yes,
so are you doing some data machine there? Is that right?
yes, yes, with a plugin with a shader in VDMX.
Nice.
Yes. And for example, here I have a small snippet of one of the last shows I did with my bestie Jose Benditi at Teatros del Canal in Madrid. It was this year or last year? It was last year. And this is like fully Max as well, with a little bit of VDMX. I mean, I really like simpler stuff. It's kind of my style, the things I like to do. So
Yeah.
maybe you're not going to enjoy it, but it's what it is. So look at it.
Nice.
Pause it.
Very
But just the
cool.
little icon from Max was just in top of the pause button. I mean, here, it's a really simple patch because I was just grabbing two STL files, two 3D models, and then doing crazy stuff with them just in real time.
Nice.
And all synced with the BPM and then some kind of glitches to just destroy people's eyes. But then I was adding some post-production with VDMX for changing maybe the color hue and some basic things because, as I said before, this could be my favorite triad. I know that it could be a little bit dangerous sometimes because it could be chaotic but functional.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy. I mean, the first software I learned for creative coding and just for this kind of stuff, it was processing back in the ages. And I really enjoyed processing at first. It was really, really fun. And then when I discovered the great integration of using, for example, Max for just doing audio analysis, working with sensors, creating weird logics, automations, or even interfaces, and then sending everything via OSC to processing for just doing the visual creation.
Yeah.
And then I tried to use Siphon because I'm a macOS user for just sending the main output from processing or Max to VDMX to add the final touches, or maybe doing some projection mapping, changing scenes, and being able to just switch between softwares really easily. I know that I live in the danger zone doing this in real time, opening and closing softwares. But depending on the kind of aesthetic I'm looking for, I will choose one way or the other. No, so it's something that for me it works. I don't know if I would recommend that, but for me it works. And for now, I didn't have any issue just on the stage by doing this.
Nice.
So it kind of works.
Yeah. It's an interesting process to see Max into VDMX. I can totally understand why you do that. It's quite interesting though. I don't see that a lot. I do like
Yes,
VDMX.
I can imagine.
I do like VDMX. It's pretty good.
Me too. And with the last update, it's great. I mean, there is this option for using the ISF shaders inside of Max.
Yes.
That are mostly the same kind of effects that they use in VDMX, but I don't find it that easily to implement. So maybe for me, it's way better to just create all those presets inside of the VDMX and have the main control over there. But it's something I'm working on, that maybe for a small patch that I don't need to open VDMX for that, for just using a set of effects. Maybe I could just try again the ISF shaders inside of Max. That would be great.
Yeah, someone said that I believe that VDMX did start as a Max patch, I think. Like a prototype version of it or something.
Yes.
I do believe that is true. I'm not sure when. I'm not sure on that timeline though.
Because there is not that many people using it. I don't know why they took so long to update it to the last version. Because maybe I had the 5 until this year that they updated to the version 6. Because I've been like maybe, I don't know, 8 years or 10 years with the previous version.
Yeah.
But then this new update is massive.
Yeah. I didn't even know they released. See, there you go. I didn't even know they released a version 6.
Yes, there is a new version, and even have some plugins for doing hand tracking, post tracking, and many other things that I still need to investigate. But there are
Yeah.
like some kind of new things. But look, regarding Max, I mean, my first contact, I was like this monkey, like, oh my God, it was Max 5, okay,
I
it was
think we
Max
can all
5.
relate to that.
Yes, yes, it was a continuous loop. Because at the beginning, I didn't like it. I should admit that. I admit that in the front of all the audience. Because at first, the first professor we had, we were for days doing just counters, triggers, selectors with not a real output. So it was at
Right.
first like really hard to understand what that's meant for. It was
Yep.
like too
Yep.
abstract for me at the beginning, no?
That's
Like, okay,
pretty
this looks cool,
familiar,
but
actually. Yeah, that's a familiar
mm,
educational kind of. Maybe it's a glitch. I don't know, but like you
yes.
spend too much time on data, and
Hmm,
no, no fun. You know,
yes.
where's the
That's
fun?
why,
Where's
for example, in my classes, at the very first class, we were doing those basic things that are essential in Max. But at the end, we tend to just use at least MIDI, no, for creating some notes. At least it was sound.
right, right, right,
Makes sense. Just to have some sound coming from it. And to understand that numbers, they mean something.
right?
They could be translated into anything else. And for
No,
example, the
that's
turning point for me, yeah, it was like a different scenario.
Yeah, that's totally key. I mean, I
Hmm.
think getting to a fun moment, so having them be able to tie the data back into maybe their DAW or something is really important. Pretty
Hmm.
soon. Um,
Yes.
I mean, ultimately, we all want to output something from
Hmm.
Max, but yeah, you could spend you could spend years hanging out in the world of Max data and not output anything. But
Yes.
I'm not sure that would be very fun, to be honest. But
No,
um,
people will just get out from the line on the way.
so you took a course and you had a professor that didn't, kind of made you do all the data stuff for a long time.
Mhm.
What changed, and when did it change? Like when did it go from not liking Max to liking Max, and why was that?
So it happened, then the turning point.
Ah,
When I had an idea, and suddenly I realized that I can do this in Max. So
nice.
I did an ugly little patch that I found it on my Dropbox that is still it was still somewhere. It was Max 5 for a live performance that I wanted to do with the first music group I had when I started doing visuals back in my hometown. Because usually most of the people they start doing visuals with techno, electronic music, and that kind of clapping and sing. But I started with traditional folk music from my region because I'm that kind of person.
That's
So, for example,
cool.
yeah, that's cool. I mean, this video is from 2011, so don't expect to be fantastic. But you see this screenshot, I mean, it's like the first frame. There were
Yeah,
three dancers on the stage. So we had the idea of, okay, if we grab a camera, can we just determine how bright the video it is depending on the movement? And I realized that I could do that with Max. So, and it worked. I was the first one of the first times I used Max on the stage in real time. And that also dived me into the idea of that, okay, I can just leave this working. And even if the dancers they get confused or they do something different, the thing is was going to continue working the way it's supposed to be working. Instead
right,
of doing like a pre-made video that should be synced. In
right.
this way it's like more feels more natural. And it worked. Look, I can just show a small snippet. So each dancer they had their own region for that. Perhaps the video I chose it was too dark, but it worked.
Oh, it's super cool.
Yeah, and I felt this is magic. This is like black sorcery or something like that. I look, I found the patch. It
Oh,
will look like this. I mean, obviously, we were using the Kinect back then because when it got released, the first version, we went all to buy that thing. We had to buy that.
Right.
I mean, the freenet grab object is not looking working on my machine. That's why it appears in brown. I have
Yeah.
not even thought, but it was a small, really small exercise. I mean, you can see that I was just doing like this typical frame difference and then just adjusting the value to the brightness of the video itself. Is not really a big deal, but for me it was like a boom moment in my head because it was really working. It's really fun to use it in the stage. And even though today I use this kind of exercise with my students in class, and usually in this class is when they got the idea of that in Max they can build anything
Right.
because those numbers could be translated into leading into something else.
Yeah.
So when I try to explain them how to work with the scales, if statements, and that kind of logics, we use the camera input because it's kind of fun, and you will see them just moving in front of the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's quite interesting too. I mean, it's fascinating. It almost feels crazy to think that 15 years ago we were playing live with Max.
And we
standard
still do.
standard definition, no HD yet. I remember we had to encode everything at photo JPEG codec, otherwise
Yes.
it wouldn't run. If you could get 20 frames per second, you were doing great.
Yes, that's why that I mean you see that the resolution there was 640 by 480,
Yeah.
and it's still using the OG.Q2 movie. like the,
It's so cool
that's
though.
cool.
Like I think the beauty of that is that it worked. It worked and it was real time. And
Yes,
at the end of the day, it's we can look back at that moment, those patches, that technology at that moment, kind of laugh a little bit about how primitive it may have seemed, but like it worked. It was incredible. The audience doesnn't know,
yes. And then they ask like, oh, what the video was perfectly recorded. How the dancers will run just
all
on
right.
sync with the video?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
had those
They
kind of
they
synchronicities in my
assume,
life.
yeah, they could never even fathom that it was real time.
Yes, but well, nowadays it's more common, it's like way more common. I mean, I've been doing this kind of artistic stuff, but then some kind of stuff for advertising and other companies. I could not find any video from this thing. This is a project I did in 2014 for Fundación Telefónica, that is like a cultural, let's say, association behind the biggest phone company in Spain, Telefónica. They have this kind of cultural events. And we did this kind of experiment, the typical audio experiment, when you hear yourself with a little bit of latency and you're trying to read from a screen and suddenly you cannot even speak. I don't know if that has a name. For sure it has a name. But the audience had to really do that. We were working with a pressure sensor to just trigger everything. People could get their QR code to just upload the video to the website, and all was run by this terrible Max patch to see on the right side of the screen. I cannot find any video, and you can update that this Max 5 still.
Nice.
It was this terrible Max 5 style, but I really enjoyed it. It worked fine. I mean, this thing was touring around the Spain through different cities and worked perfectly. It worked perfectly. And with the camera system, uploading everything to a web server where the users could see their own videos, generate the QR code. And in this moment, I discovered Automator, and I found it so useful because I was launching the .app apps generated from Automator from here for the different scenes, for printing the thing, uploading the video, and doing all those small tasks. They were automated from Max.
Nice.
It was kind of fun, but I could not find a video of this thing because it was really, really old, but it was kind of fun. And other crazy one that I was also looking for videos, but I could not find many, but some pictures, yes. For other company, I mean, I work with a design studio based in Barcelona. They're called Domestic Data Streamers. They also work with data a lot, as the name says. And we did this big stand for BBK Live and Mad Cool Festival. They happened at the same time in Madrid and Bilbao. And it was an advertising thing for Beefeater, just alcohol company. So it was crazy because we had to run a lot of data coming from so many different places because mainly people could go there
Mm.
and write into a tablet and write in top of this bowl. But then there were those guys with those I stand for letters that they were just hand clapping people to just choose between Jon Snow or Khaleesi, grabbing that data, the amount of drinks people was choosing. They were doing like a previous app campaign to just ask people for some kind of data, and we had to plot all that data in real time to the screens, and it was massive. It was really, really massive. So all the data management, and I found this video because I finally end doing like all the graphics, all in open frameworks back then. It
Nice.
was more stable for this kind of situations, for doing this kind of graphics. So I was run with Max and open frameworks with my friend Alex Bordanova. We were doing on the Max patch a lot. It was crazy. I mean, here even the kerning was not aligned, but it was the only video I could find in my Dropbox. So here I learned a lot about how to manage scenes and work with dictionaries and all that kind of stuff in JSON format. It was massive. Look at this interface. I found this
Oh,
thing.
amazing.
Yes, because the version for the two festivals it was a little bit different, so I had to code both, but they were managed through the same system, and we even ended using Mira
Ah,
for the
nice.
tablets because the waitresses that they were there just waiting for people to just put their name and the phrase they wanted to I stand for. That was kind of the name of the campaign. It was all run by a Mira patch, and they look at like that behind the scenes back then. People just typing, and it worked great. It was really fun to do this kind of scenario because we thought I cannot imagine doing all those things with any other software rather than with Max. Honestly, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely lends itself well to those kind of environments that have pretty vast requirements.
Yes, I
You
mean,
can you can adapt the software to these multitude of requests that they often put in these companies. How many at any one time? How many data sources do you think were coming in?
wow, we had is here one, two, three, four, six different data events. The bull, the buttons, the web app, the segmentation points that there were some. They're not here in this picture. But at the entrance of the festival, there were some gates where people could pass between one or the other, and they were counting people. So we're already doing that as well. I could not find that image. It was somewhere.
So in the course of
Um,
the festival, thousands and thousands
yes, it was crazy.
of
And
input. Yeah, this is always a fascinating area when you need to scale up to a larger audience of input. Like usually, I would say probably 99% of max patches is like one person, like the performer
hmm,
or the artist or the developer inputting data, or controlling it with a MIDI controller or something. But when you start
yes.
having
No, but
this,
in this case, it was massive. I mean, the web
yeah.
server was really well done for being able to just grab and request and getting all those get API requests in real time, and then showing everything in the on the screens. So it was really fun. People enjoyed it a lot. It was also fun to be there, honestly. So this kind of moments in festivals where this kind of things happens. And then, for example, I have another example where I use Max and this kind of nerd and kind of special.
Just one
I
more
mean,
question on that, Marta.
yes.
How long did you have to develop that patch for the festival?
Wow, we were working on this for months.
Yeah.
Months, 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 months.
Okay,
I
so you
cannot
had a
remember
good.
exactly how many, but it was around 2017, so I cannot remember exactly.
Yeah.
But 4 months minimum for sure.
Okay.
And
And
we were
then
like two people working on the max patch.
as far as testing it before the festival, how much like how much testing were you able to do, and then what were the number of input sources or people interacting during the testing phase?
Wow, we were trying it hard because we had to try it really, really intensively before going there. But also
Yeah.
then later when we went to the venue, because I was taking care of the Madrid version and my friend Alex, he was going to Bilbao. So just doing the setup and everything, we had to solve a lot of things on the way that we were not really counting with them.
Right.
So it was really like we were trying things in the default kind of fake data. Some
Yeah.
data was already there, but then other things we had to try there. We were
Right.
there for 3 or 4 days before the festival opened to just try everything.
Wow. Those
Because there were also like
scenarios.
other lights, even the lights inside of the this kind of stand, they were also like depending on the amount of white or red beverage people was asking for, they were counting it.
Oh wow.
Every hour there was some kind of a contest, so someone could win, go to the upstage to just drink for free. So it was massive. There was a lot of things going on all the time. It
Oh
was
yeah. The
awesome.
second you add free alcohol, the stakes rise.
Yes, and then be careful with those people. But it was fun. It was really fun.
Nice.
I mean, it rained, but it was cool. And look, I believe the most commercial thing I ever did.
Yeah, I think it
I
was.
mean, this.
Was it free beer or free just anything?
It was not beer. It was Beefeater. It was Ginebra. It was ginger.
Ah,
Gin. It
gin.
was gin.
Free
Beefeater.
gin.
Free gin for everybody.
Nice.
That's crazy. And look, this could be one of the most commercial things I ever did. This is from 2022. I can show you first a kind of a screenshot.
I love this image. It's beautiful.
Yes, it's beautiful because I mean I don't know if the people in the audience is kind of aware that in Eurovision Song Contest is quite a thing.
Yeah.
This kind of music contest
Eurovision.
around Europe.
I think a lot of folks here probably have heard of Eurovision. It's
Yes,
pretty infamous.
yes. So I was really lucky to be doing the visuals for a Spanish group that they were for the contest in Spain for choosing who was going to the Eurovision Song Contest that year.
So cool.
And I ended up using some Max for some part of the visuals. But then I ended with the same kind of problem because, well, I was using way too many video sources for this thing. It was massive. But the first part, I really used Max for this kind of terrain. But then I had to use VDMX because I had to create some sort of a filter to just grab everything and create this more condensed image for all the show. So I was rendering everything through VDMX and then building the final video because for the TV and for TV shows, especially here, you cannot do it in real time. The video was just done and they were just playing back from production. But it
Right.
was just working. But maybe it's the first time, I don't know if they were using a lot of Max in this kind of contest, but look at a small piece because I had to do like 4 different videos. I mean, for the main screens, they were huge. The floor, the arcs, and then other side that they were like the juries they were sitting. That's why you see this compound video. But the little one at the corner is just the original video from the TV show.
Wow.
And well, the little terrain was at the beginning and then at the end of the show. So I just cut the video twice. That was cool.
Wow.
Cool.
I love that you were part of Eurovision with Max. That's
Almost Eurovision was just the Spanish,
right. Well, the
Spanish
Spanish.
contest.
Yeah. That's still very cool though.
We almost won. We almost won. It was almost there.
Ah,
But
really?
it was fun to be there. Yes,
That's
it
so
was a hard
cool.
contest. But it was really cool to go in there and then see like the big screens and then fixing things on the way. It was kind of fun. It was really interesting venue for just
Yeah.
attending.
I mean, it has to be fun to be able to get onto those high quality LED screens and stuff, right?
Yes.
Like, I
Yes, because even they were mobile, we were just allowed once in the show to just flip them and do
to
some magic
just
tricks
so
with them.
not much time at all, really.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
that's
I
always
mean, for
interesting.
this video, I did everything in 1 month.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, and did you have a lot of back and forth with the artists, with the performers when you were developing it? Not
No,
really. They trusted your
no.
your vision.
Yes,
Oh, that's
they trusted
cool.
me.
That's kind of best case scenario actually.
Yes, that's the best case
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
mean,
usually they have so much input, and it's like
no,
um,
we were realigned with the artistic direction, makeup, the dressing, everything was all kind of in the same pack. So we were working really, really hard all together. We're a big team.
and when that's very cool. Um, Did you find it kind of shocking when you got onto the big screens? Because I know, like, when you're working at home on a small scale, small screen, and then you see it, you're like, whoa, like,
Yes. It's a different scenario. It's totally
yeah,
way, way different. Yes. So you also need to think about the scale
right.
and also about the TV shots, because this was going to be just broadcasted on the national
Yeah, because,
television.
like,
So,
you're using the screen, but you also don't have control over how the camera is going to be capturing for the
yes, I mean, we
TV, right?
sent the instructions for the moments where they were pretending to point here, here, or there because they were dancers, they were musicians, the three singers.
Right.
So we had to be aware of all of that. So it was my first time doing that kind of thing, and it was really fun.
Wow, that's super cool, Marta.
Yes. And the last weird Max thing I'm going to show you because last year I got invited to Sonar. It was a great, great honor. Like, I mean, wow, I'm going to Sonar to give a talk, what I'm going to say, because they request me to talk about AI.
Oh,
Okay. And it was like, oh
yeah.
my God. And this is how I feel with AI most of the times because things are going so quick that it's like, what I'm supposed to do. If I start talking about techniques or models or things like that, in a few months it's going to be outdated. So it was really, really dangerous. So I started thinking what to do. So I started like giving like a thought just to all of those things. And I found out this interesting concept that there are some researchers talking about that, about some kind of digital inbreeding. I mean, if you have a system, because they were, I mean, it's a theoretical idea, okay? It's not something that I don't know if it will happen. We never know. But it's this kind of idea that those AI models, especially image ones, they need the big amount of images to be trained. That what could happen if we end all the human-made images and they need to start being fed with images made by another AIs?
Yeah.
So that's why they call it Habsburg AI. And could lead to some kind of digital inbreeding, or that the outputs of those models they will start like being like with small variations and really similar between them.
Yeah.
And I really thought that this idea is something really, really similar because it could lead into a model collapse. So it's a really interesting idea to start like diving
Wow.
inside of those things. It's really, really cool. And I thought, this is feedback. This
Yeah.
is exactly just this video feedback. And for those who maybe are unaware about kind of the concept of video feedback, mainly, I mean, this kind of situation, especially if you're working the computer and you're with OBS and you start recording and creating this infinity thing, or you're pointing a webcam to a TV and start doing this kind of ripples, that's video feedback as in the basic way of explaining that. And I use feedback a lot in my work when I use my modular analog synths for visuals.
Yeah.
Something that I also like to do. And I really enjoy it because I don't have full control over what is going on. It's really unpredictable. And I get this kind of textures that are really, really fun. I really enjoy working with feedback in real time a lot. So I thought, what if I try to do the same, but with a diffusion model with AI? What could happen if I use well, like an image to image way of using any kind of model and
Yeah.
using the output image to be fed again and fed again and fed again. And I ended up using stable diffusion because it has an API. And thanks to Rob Ramirez, he created a patch to being able to use that API with Max. So thank you for that. And mainly that
Cheers,
patch was
Rob.
using Node.js, yes, from Rob,
Nice.
somewhere there. I mean, for using stable diffusion, because at first I tried to use Midjourney and that kind of stuff, but anytime you upload a new image, the seed is a new one, so it's not really doing the thing.
Yep, yep,
So I
yep.
was using the stable diffusion API just for doing that, and mainly was using Node.js and Max.
Yep.
I mean, this could be a little bit high technical, but I had to work like really detail by detail with all those small uh, parameters, mainly with the model, like the amount of steps, the subseed strength, the noises and strength, and then I had to do a lot of automation
Mm.
to being able to know, especially for naming the files, to know what the hell I was doing, to then remember if that was the good combination of parameters to achieve what I was looking for.
Right.
There was a nightmare because I was generating all those images in a loop, and around 200 iterations, it was doing magic. I will show you that now in a while. Let me just show you. I mean, the patch is not really great, okay? Just recorded this video. Well, I was just dropping an image, using image or not, sending all the payload, and then generating all the images. And also the Node.js script was already building the video for me at the end when I was clicking on the red button to just generate the video with all those frames automatically with FFmpeg.
Wow.
Never know how to do that. Something like that. Look, I have it. This other one that I recorded this morning. So look, at the very end, creates everything. And then wait, see if it works. Let me just jump because I'm just extending too much here. Where's the video? There are the videos. Just three versions, like the interpolated one, a blend version, and a regular version that is not doing any kind of blending to just build the video automatically. And it
Wow.
was kind of fun. It was, I mean, a lot of people will say, Marta, why you didn't use Comfy UI for doing this? But it's like, I already know Max, what I should use Comfy UI and learn a new tool if I already can do that in Max.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
So, because it was just an experiment that I wanted to develop to then go with the work in progress piece to Sonar and explain to people. I was not really 100% that it was going to work. So lucky me, it worked. I tried all the tests with always the same init images, like a triangle and a square and a circle, a transparent PNG and no image at all. And I found like super interesting things. Well,
that's incredible. I love that you just chose simple shapes. I mean, it kind of reminds me of childlike toys. You know, the whole like
yes,
square peg, round hole.
yes, because but just for
Look,
forcing, because
wow.
I really wanted to force uh, the model to just make it crash, obviously. I mean, and I ended using just the first step of the diffusion progress because with 5 steps, it was giving me this kind of vibe. With three, I mean, I really enjoyed that kind of glitching and distortion of an image, but it's not what I was looking for. I was
Right.
looking for something different. But then I used it just the first, and let me go to the next slide because I had to way too many tests, okay? But look at that.
Wow.
Just with the first step of the diffusion process at the end, it was creating those ripples. It was just removing all the colors, all the details, and then going
Yeah.
into black and white and trying to align that this is mainly how analog feedback works because it's doing the same kind of
Yeah,
imagining.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Actually, you start
I
pointing. Yeah.
I thought about doing like fine tuning of the model, bringing images of my analog scenes, but I thought I'm going to use this thing as a black box. I'm not going to put anything from my side. I'm going to use the model as it coming. And look, at the end, it was creating those. It was trying to adjust, trying to create those parallel, diffused lines, always in black and white, even circles, or even something like that. And it was working great.
Yeah.
I was really happy to
Incredible.
see that it worked.
I found it fascinating that the triangle kind of decided to go into a lampshade like at
Yes.
one point. That was
I mean, I was trying to avoid having any kind of human face or something like that. It
yeah.
didn't happen at some point because I had to use some negative prompts to avoid that because I just wanted these kind of things. And those that were happening with no image at all as an input. But then look what happened if I used just a transparent PNG with no data. I don't know what the hell the model was understanding from a transparent PNG, but it was leading to this kind of, I don't
Wow.
know, because it reminds me to the first layer of oil paintings. I mean, I used to paint oil in the past, so it's just something that resembles to me like this kind of aesthetic. I don't know what it
Yeah.
happened. It's just something like mysterious enough. So I went to Sonar just to show this thing. And then I had, because they also requested me to use sound for that. And it's like,
Ah.
okay, I already did like the video part. I started the house from the roof because I started with the visuals first. And I had to do the sound. And after a few research, I ended up that, figuring out that maybe I should use Rave. That, for those unaware, is just a team bit transfer model. So usually there are a lot of pre-trained models with nice instruments like drums, violins. So we can do in real time to kind of team bit transfer from our voice to with sound like violins and all that kind of interesting things. But I thought, what if I train a model just with feedback sounds and noise and all the terrible things that no one wants to hear? So I trained the model with terrible sounds, and they ended working.
Nice.
And it was nice. It ended working fine. I used Dispatch as a basis. And that is also like in the Cycling 74 GitHub page. I mean the Rave implementation, because there is an n tilde object for just working with Rave models inside of Max. And I forgot to add the slides, but mainly what I did, because I already had all those videos already done, I decided to do some kind of color and motion and brightness analysis of the video I created to generate the sound, and that sound was modulated through the this Max patch with my trained model. And this sounded really weird, but I really enjoy it. I hope it works. Let's see this video. Let's see. No? Because this video sometimes leads into issues. There it is. I mean, I know that it's bad trained because of this kind of metallic sound resemblance. I mean, it's pretty long. Let me go over here.
This sounds incredible.
Well, there's some humans appearing, but I decided to leave them there. They just went away. I mean, it's kind of whatever. It was just an experiment, but it ended going well. And I really want to develop this thing further because I just did it for Sonar. And I also went to Ars Electronica in Linz, Austria, to present this thing in October as well. So I was really, really happy of being able to show this kind of work to the audience over there as well.
How was it received? I'm curious.
People was really excited because I was around the festival and random people was coming like, "Hey, you're Marta, I really enjoyed your talk. It was super interesting." And it was like,
Cool.
"Yay, thank you so much."
Oh, that's
Because I
great.
was giving like some kind of input beforehand of other artists using in the 60s, 70s, using feedback as a creative tool.
Right.
So it was this kind of workshop and it was fine. I mean, it was really, they were happy. Even the audience and the Sonar people, they were really happy with the idea.
Very
It was really
cool.
cool. And then
Congratulations, Marta. This is excellent.
many, many things. And then at the end in my classes, and we can just talk about that later, I mean, mainly because I'm not coming from a technical background, because I studied fine arts. I really find interesting teaching Max and any other like super high technical tools to people because at the beginning people is really afraid of technology. They're like, oh my God, no, I'm going to break something. This is dangerous. This is too complicated. But even though we're not surgeons, we're not doctors. I mean, no one is going to die. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is just your computer crashes and then restarts. It's just the main thing. You
I
need to try. You need to really try things and see, hey, what happens if I put this number in here? What will happen? No,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
just get surprised by your own thing. Just to use technology just as a tool, and also trying to translate complex things into something that in the in the bottom side of things is more simple, no? Because I also had a situation back in the day, so it's really fun to just see it right nowadays with older students. And wow, look, yes, I was talking for maybe 45 minutes. Oh my God, we're going to just stop.
No, it's fascinating, Marta. Thank you for
Because if I
sharing.
start talking, I could stay here for hours. Just
You know,
let me stop sharing the screen because I don't see you. You're here.
yeah, it's excellent. I think you have a really interesting point there about crashing. Like, you know, in the world of software and I guess, you know, in more recent years with computers, things have become more stable. I mean, I remember 15, 20 years ago, you just you rolled with the crashes. Some days all you did was crash. And, you know, because your CPU was sitting at 98% all the time. Whereas crashes happen less commonly now, but you know, there's this negativeness, but it's like, yeah, it's just no, I like no one's gonna die. Like, it's okay. just restart.
Yes. Restart and try again.
Yeah, I've actually Timo is like crashing is the only way I close Max. And you know,
Great
it
point of
reminds
view.
me, I had a performance once, and I knew I was pushing the envelope, and I decided to go for it anyway. And you know, 10, 15 minutes in, I had a super hard crash. The sound was incredible. It was like I just did a thing on the MIDI controller that I looked down when the sound left, and my computer was blank, and I just hit that sweet spot of like 12, 13, 14 minutes where someone was like, thought it was like a short punk set or something, and everyone applauded, and I was like, yeah, just shut the computer. And we were like, but the sound was so insane. I don't know what happened. I wish I'd been able to capture that kind of crashing
Yeah.
sound, because it was like I'd ripped through the venue with a vacuum or something. Like
Wow.
it was very, yeah. Anyway, it's so funny. But yeah, I like that you talk to your students about that? Like, you mentioned that? Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I
interesting.
mentioned that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
They need
Max,
to try new things and get out of the comfort zone.
yeah. I
The
mean, there's
class
a
is for that.
reason why you can have feedback loops in Max and Stack Overflows, you know, and things like that. It's like, you know, there's a reason why. If you go off to other things, there's bumper bars to stop that happening, you know, like,
Hmm.
you can't do that by design. You don't have the option to experiment. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Nice. Wow, that's an incredible body of work, Marta. Um, has that mostly come together in the last 10 years, or is it longer now, right? Or
It's starting to get longer. I'm getting older.
we're not getting older.
Ah.
I know.
Well, I've been doing this kind of stuff for the last 15 years already.
Yeah, yeah. It's awesome. What's going on? What's coming up next for you? What's on the table right now? I know you're on vacation right now, short vacation.
Vacation. Well, I'm prepping an installation for another visual artist that he's a photographer. I worked for him 10 years ago for an installation and a visualization I had to do in processing. It was kind of fun. And he just called me back to do an installation again in Sevilla. So we're doing like a nice thing together. So I'm just finishing that. I'm using again processing plus Max and VDMX
Yeah.
just for handling everything. Yes. And a few shows and a few things.
Yeah, no,
And
it
hoping to
makes
start a PhD soon. It's kind of my plans.
the infamous PhD.
Yes.
Hopefully you don't disappear. I know sometimes I meet these PhD people and they disappear
No, no.
for years and then they come back.
No, I won't disappear. I will
Don't
continue doing
disappear.
and teaching and all that stuff.
You mentioned using, you know, it's cool to really see how you use, a tool chain as such, and Max is in there in that tool chain as part of it. With processing and Node and P5.js, and it's it's interesting because I do see the Max user who tries to do everything inside of Max, and then someone like yourself who leverages several things, has them all talking to one another, and I think it's great because Max, I often think of Max as like a conduit, for joining all different things. It's so useful for having things come out, go back out. I really don't know of many other things that can conjure and join so many different types of data and then subvert and then send them back out.
Yes.
Like
I mean,
Max can.
OSC is one of the best things that have been ever invented for me. Open
Yeah.
source control is great because I can really easily pull up like an interface. I mean, I don't know if you have experience with processing, but building an interface with a control P5 library, it could be a little bit dense.
Yeah.
Just create everything, a separate window is kind of complex. So just doing that in Max is super fast. I just send everything through OSC. I have my class already just receiving all the data. And it's really fast to prototype and then let's leave it working, even for an installation or just a live performance. For
Yeah.
me, it works great.
Marta, do you have links to some of your courses at Berkeley? I'm kind of trying to look for them right now. Like, are the curriculums online, or?
It should be.
I see music production, technology, and innovation.
Yes. Let me see if I can find it. I mean, the name of the Max class I teach, because I teach two Max classes.
Yep.
The first one, this is not over here. Where is my thing? But I have my Notion page because it's something I really do, and students that really love it. And I know there are some of them in the chat. I know they're there because I teach. One is mandatory; it's a required class.
Okay.
So they need to do it yes or yes, and then there's a second version that the students who are really interested they take it.
Nice.
Look, where's my desktop? And I found really useful. Well, here it is. I mean, I use Notion for everything. Something I learned that is great.
Nice.
So after the pandemic, I found out that I really had to provide some kind of documentation for the students
Yeah.
to being able to recap again, because during the pandemic, we were forced to record tons of videos and the students are really hanging out and enjoying the videos a lot. But after that, we're not allowed to do that again. So this is kind of the syllabus. So half of the semester is more audio based
Yeah.
and the second half is more for graphics.
Yeah.
So for example,
I
I
see
don't know, I don't
Busy,
feel like the last one. Yeah, busy for starting is great. So I write everything with the screenshots, step by step. And this is also a great guide for myself. Because if I have to teach like several sections of the same class, so I won't get lost on my own thing, because I tend to improvise. And even maybe this one, well, for example, and I can just embed the code just in here, so they can just copy and paste.
Nice.
So it's way easier to just demonstrate this on the fly, just extra things and many, many things. But I cannot find the syllabus. Where it is? It should be somewhere. But mainly I'm just teaching those things.
Yeah,
and I'm already updating it and creating new things, or maybe choosing, like, for example, before teaching this week with MC objects, was teaching them polyphony. Most of the students, they struggled a lot with understanding the idea of an abstraction and creating copies and of the same element and being able to access from the outside. So maybe multi-channel audio is like nicer.
Nice.
And it's easier to get into.
Nice. Timo has a question there. He was curious to hear a bit more about your approach to making visuals with other artists. Do you work close together with them, showing them your whole process, letting them give opinions, or do you work more standalone first, designing some visuals and show up at rehearsal? Or any other preference? Do you have one type of process, or?
Usually I do whatever I want to do. industry. No, but I really try. I mean, I talk to them, obviously. I try to have a meeting with them.
Yeah.
And then I would try to listen to the music a lot to
Yep.
try to guess in my head which kind of, I don't know, aesthetics or techniques I should use for that because it's not the same. I don't know, going to Modular Day Barcelona with all the nerds doing modular scenes, or maybe going to do like a show just with a piano player or like a flute player like I did in the past, like
Right.
more contemporary music. So it's a different scenario. The kind of graphics, the kind of audience, the kind of venue is different. So depending on the spot and location, I should choose one or the other. But usually they are really happy to collaborate, and since usually this kind of pairing is done by the festival or by the organizers, usually it's kind of free. I mean, then it's different like working on a project with a specific artist that we are going to repeat over and over again.
Right.
That's like a different process. But for this kind of one day in your life show that is not going to be repeated again, that's kind of the best way of going. Just
Yeah.
listening to that a lot and then try to imagine that in my brain because honestly, if I don't like the music, I won't be able to do anything cool for them.
Right.
I need to enjoy the music.
Have
I
you
really need to like it.
have you passed on a gig because you didn't like the music?
Mm, not really. No,
I feel like
as far as
they
I can
probably
remember, don't. Because they
yeah.
already kind of know.
They know you and or have checked
Yes.
out your work, so there's already some possible
Yes.
synergy there between you guys, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they called me for that Eurovision thing,
Yep.
because it was traditional folk music from my region, and I started doing visuals with that specific kind of music that not everyone will be able to just understand and transmit something that identifies with that environment and that scenario in the traditional music, you know. So it's something that leads into
That's a skill in
that's fun.
itself. Like you definitely have a skill there. Like you need to understand context. You want to put your
Hmm.
own, you know, vision and your own creative skill into it, but you also need to, you know, contribute something to their side of what they're bringing and work together. Yeah, and collaboration
Hmm.
is a skill actually. I mean,
Yes.
some people just can't do it at all. Uh,
But I really love collaborating with others because usually I'm always working with other people. It's really rare the moment where I do just something just by myself.
yeah.
Maybe the sonar thing I did by myself. But usually work with musicians, photographers, designers, architects, or many other, I know, creative animals.
No, and I'm
And I learn a
sure I
lot.
think that's why we see this like diverse, incredible body of work that you have. So many different scenarios that you take your skill set into and you know
Hmm.
develop something unique. It's cool. It's very impressive, Marta.
It's fun. I
Yeah,
have fun.
that's what it's about, right? I mean, you know, let's be real. You know, when it's not fun, it's not fun, and try and get as much fun into life as we can while we're here. While we're
Yes.
here. Nice. Folks, any questions for Marta before we're probably gonna wrap up here shortly? Drop
Hmm.
any questions in the chat, and I can ask Marta right now. Uh, let us know what is up. Come on down.
It's like if I use a single max patch sketch for an entire performance, I change sketches. Yes. Yes, Ludon, I use a lot of different max patches on the way. But since I'm using Siphon, I can really control everything from the spot, not launching everything just from the same place. So I use VDMX as this end funnel of things to control if I'm using video files or this or that max patch. So I'm just launching everything through there. And
Seagull
then
has a great question. Uh, I'm not sure there's an easy answer. How did you build your
I don't know
circle of people?
what do you mean with that
I think he
question? Circle of
means.
people.
I think they mean like how you know how did you become the person that these people call when they want visual accompaniment and or technology accompaniment. Um,
I mean, just going everywhere.
I also
I
think
mean,
it's
just
like what you've got, a decade and a half plus under your belt, and you must be, given the amount of collaboration, I imagine you're easy to work with. That's part of it.
hmm,
Like, if you're difficult to work with, that things stop pretty
yes,
quickly.
yes.
Um,
And
so
also attending many, many events, I mean, here in Valencia, there are not that many places, but in Madrid, we had Media Prado, that it was a fantastic place. I don't know if you ever heard about that place. I believe that Open Frameworks was partially developed there. And it was an amazing place where a lot of digital creators and random people we were gathering, and we were creating different work groups for working with processing Max Open Frameworks and doing this kind of meetups, going to different festivals and events. For example, my friend Jose Benditti, I've been working with him for 8 years, but I met him at a fantastic festival in Belgrade, in Serbia. It was called Resonate. It was one of the best festivals ever. It was fantastic. I've been able to see like amazing artists in there, and I just met him here there like randomly,
nice.
and we became friends and started working together. And since today, so it's just always fun to go out and go to those events where you can find people that is really likely somewhat like you. Maybe the collaboration won't appear like the very next day, but maybe at some point people will remember about you, and it's like, hey, just call Marta, and
Yeah,
that's the
I
story.
would agree there. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of stuff's come about for me, is just, hanging around, like going to festivals,
Yes.
turning up to
And
gigs, whether you're playing them or not. It's like inevitably what happens, you turn up enough, they ask you, what do you do? And then you talk
hmm,
about it and things
yes,
start happening.
and it
Um,
happens, and people remembers your name or your face or your work. So, for example, it's like a fun story. But I ended teaching at Berkeley because I was giving a talk in Madrid in a place where after me was my actual boss talking.
ah, yeah,
And I
coincidental.
went to that event to talk because I performed at another festival in Barcelona, the Mira Festival. I met Julian Bell there as well. So it
Yeah,
was the first
yeah,
time I met him. He was here. He was there doing an installation. So the person who was organizing that event, it was for a big newspaper in Madrid. He was also in the festival. So
nice.
and it's kind of connections along the way that looks like a coincidence, but maybe it's not.
I don't think it, I don't think it's purely coincidental either. I
Mhm.
think, it's a sum of parts, It's like you do a little bit, you do a little bit, it starts adding up. Um, I know
Yes.
it's really cryptic. It's hard. I think I have a lot of young students ask me, and they think that I have the secret sauce. Um, like,
There is no secret source.
yeah,
There is not.
right. I think they asked me, and it's like, you've. I mean, honestly, the best advice I ever can give is just stay consistent, keep exploring, keep patching, do a little bit of patching each day. Um, you know, uh, it's a bit technology and Max. If you treat it a little bit like practicing your instrument,
Hmm.
um, yeah, some of the
Yes,
parts.
totally.
What's your new favorite feature or object in Max 9, Marta?
I'm really enjoying the fade between presets.
Ah,
I think that's super cool, being able to just switch between them and not going just cut by cut.
yeah,
Because
preset.
before that, we were doing like a lot of line objects, just go
Yeah,
between values. So now that thing is magical, feels magical.
preset interpolation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the preset object is probably the most popular form of state saving in Max. I mean, pattern storage is
Mm,
obviously the best, but it's also very complex. Um,
yes.
so for anyone who's
Mm,
just saving some basic states, preset interpolation opens up a world of possibilities. Have
yes, it's
you
great.
connected the node object to
Not yet,
preset? Yeah,
but I
that's
need to do that.
that's
I
pretty
really need to
fun.
do that.
That's really
Yes.
fun.
I'm also super excited with all the new FX OpenGL based objects.
Yes.
to start just removing all the matrix stuff and start working more
Yeah,
with
yeah,
FPGA.
it's pretty incredible. The other thing too that's I think some people are not aware of, the team this came out with Timo's the .jxs shaders that have been rolled into the JIT FX is that some of those JIT, well, most of those JIT FX are a representation of the shader, but it was rewritten in I think GLPix. So it's actually even more Jitter Max friendly. Um, yeah.
Yes, that's super cool. I mean, I need to dive more into all the new Max 9 things to integrate into my syllabus
Oh,
because
it's
many things changed. I could not change it in the middle of the academic year.
right. It was a big release, and there's a lot. There's a lot that was added. The ABL stuff is pretty
Yes,
incredible. Now there's the ABL effects package. Um,
yes. I downloaded the other day. Looks amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
nice. Well, folks, I think we're gonna wrap up here, unless there's any last second questions for Mata. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Office Hours, Mata. Uh,
Thank you so
and
much. I see
I
that Ishan is asking something, but he was my student, so I can just write to him later. Ishan is trying to train the right model. I mean, I had to pay the account for Google Colab Pro, but even
yeah.
though it was disconnecting all the time, so I had to resume and resume and resume and continue.
Mm.
It took like 2 weeks training that.
So there's not, yeah, okay. Um,
It's kind of esoteric.
yeah, you should, you guys should chat some more about that. It sounds like Isham is digging in. Marta, stick
Yes.
around a second. Absolute pleasure to have you here, folks. And remember, Marta is out and about. Marta is a active member of this very Discord. She's very approachable. She's a Max certified trainer. So you can reach out to Marta and chat with Marta after this at times. And maybe not the next week. She's on vacation. But no,
Just
I'm kidding. But yeah, you'll see Mata about. Don't be shy to reach out. And Mata, thank you so much for joining us.
thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, folks.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back next week. There's an office hours next week. Let me just tell you, this will be a doozy. We have Manuel Paletti. I'm not sure how many of you know Manuel, but he's developed some of the biggest Max for Live packages over the years. He was the developer of the recently released ABL Effects modules. That's a new package that's available right now inside of Max 9. So you might like to check that. We'll have Manuel Paletti here, same time next Tuesday. Don't miss it. All right, folks. See you later.
Bye.
Mata, that was awesome.